I think Lions fans and
Drills.
Packers fans
Utters.
kind of understand each other a little bit right now, where week one, Packers have this crazy game against the Eagles, and at the end of the game, Jordan Love goes down with an injury, and suddenly you really don't even care about that game anymore. And Detroit just kicks the ever-living poop out of the Cowboys. They just annihilated them, eviscerated them, had tackles doing 90% of the receiver work in this game. They trolled them. They embarrassed them in Jerry World. It's like
on Jerry's birthday.
Jerry's had in ever at Jerry World. And now they're just worried about, they lose their best defensive player, maybe the best defensive player in the league, Aidan Hutchinson, who we all saw his leg just snap in half. Had to go get emergency surgery in Dallas.
It was successful.
He should be good to go next year in 2025.
It's true, Andrew.
And that's your first bit of good news, because when you see that happen, it's so like it's
deflating.
Broken legs are so weird, because I have seen it where it looks horrible. We saw Dak's ankle. And there's this scenario though where like a clean break is actually better than tearing ligaments. But we've seen, depending on how the leg breaks, to Alex Smith, where it is one of the most horrific injuries you can suffer.
Yeah.
There was a tight end, I forget who broke his leg in the end zone one year, basically ended his career. So you never know. But luckily, Hutchinson should be back. And I think the Lions will ultimately be okay. I don't know how they replace his production, obviously, but that's a good football team. That's a well-coached football team. That's a group of guys who believe in each other. So if anybody's gonna figure it out, I think it's Detroit. But fuck, what a blow after you saw them just play maybe their best football of the year against a team that we didn't really know how. Is Dallas good? Are they bad? Are they in the middle? They're bad. They're a bad football team.
Well, I think we'll just focus on the Lions game, right? It's if Aidan Hutchinson doesn't get hurt, we are oh, the Lions are the best team in football.
Yeah.
Because the way that the Cowboys, like you said, we both put them at 10 on the power rankings. All right, give them some credit for beating the Steelers, what have you.
Yeah.
But Micah Parsons is out, but the offense is not really that good. The run game, it just seemed like a weird team. And it was, from the jump, complete domination in every facet of the game, where you have multiple plays trying to get your offensive lineman to score. That is just hey, you suck, and we are just so significantly better than you. Yeah. And when you think that, Dan Campbell's going to ease up, he's like, nope, we're still throwing the ball, and we're still going to put up points on him. They obviously are still pissed off from last season, which, valid. Yeah. And I think that with the Lions now, the number one question was, you're talking about replacing Aidan Hutchinson. Once he goes down, it just zaps all the energy out of that building, right? And it's like the Packers-Eagles, like you were talking about, obviously more significant in the injury, but the Packers kept it close, against Philadelphia. We're like, okay, that's fine. It's not the worst loss. And then, boom, Love gets hurt, and you just don't know. Yeah. And here, unfortunately, you do know, because there's no way that is coming back, this season, because of just horrific the injury was. And everything afterward just feels like a little bit more hollow, because you're like, okay, yeah, we're going to kick the crap out of the Cowboys. This is going to be really cool for a couple hours. But then it's, next week we're going against the Vikings, and we're not going to have Aidan Hutchinson. The rest of the season, we're going against and we're not going to have Aidan Hutchinson. So going forward with the Lions, the number one concern is going to be replacing Aidan Hutchinson, right? So how they're going to do that, there's already been names that have been tossed around. And this is where I actually really want to have this conversation with you, because I'm curious what your thoughts on. Like Hassan Reddick, who now has a new agency. They're talking about joining the Jets, right? He's on there, but he wants a big-time contract. He already turned down a year contract with the Jets. He wants a contract. I don't know if the Lions shell out that kind of money. Max Crosby's been thrown out there with how the Raiders are doing. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, that's going to be 2 first-round picks. Are the Lions willing to be like, okay, we've done this draft and develop. Is this when we make a splash move to go get a premium edge rusher? I don't know. I mean, they kind of would have to get away from their philosophy a little bit, what they've been doing for the past few years. And I don't know if now's the time to do it. They have a great team, but without Hutch, it's like it feels like you want somebody there to be alongside him to be like that ultimate push to really be like, all right, we have the best opportunity to make the most of this window.
The thing the Lions do have is they can evaluate for basically what, like 2 games. There's like 2 more games. November 5th is the trade deadline. So they can get a couple games out there and they can see like what kind of glaring hole this actually is. Like, okay, do we get after opposing quarterbacks by committee? I know like if you combined everybody else's sacks on the team, it maybe gets to Aidan Hutchinson's production.
Sure.
I think James Houston behind him. James Houston was on this weird trajectory like 2 seasons ago when he was playing 3 snaps a game and getting a sack every time. Yeah. So maybe it's just like that next man up actually comes in and plays well. But if they get through a couple games like, oh God, we do need to do something. Yeah, I don't think it would be Reddick, although that would be, that just makes sense because Reddick's holding out after the trade with the Jets or whatever. Max Crosby said the only other team he would ever play for would be the Lions because I think he's from Michigan. I don't think the Raiders are going to trade Max Crosby.
I don't think so either, because then they're blowing it all up.
Your coaches are never safe around that man as he tries to assault them into oblivion.
It was a love shove, apparently.
Yeah. Remind me to never let Max Crosby love me, Tom. Love does hurt if you're in a relationship with Max Crosby.
That hashtag that he put at the end of Max Crosby, I was like,
is he hashtagging covertly the N-word? Is that what that is? Is that a friendly N-word hashtag? He would be a guy you'd go, okay, he can come in and produce probably close to the same level as Aidan Hutchinson.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that's happening. It's probably like you're looking towards like a team, and if the Raiders keep losing, maybe they're sellers. I don't know if they'll be that big of sellers, but you look to, let's say the Broncos lose a couple games, and I'm not saying they would do this. You're looking to like underrated, I think, pass rushers who a bad team would be willing to sort of deal in a time of need. So like the Broncos have Jonathan Cooper on the edge, who's really, really disruptive. He doesn't get a lot of attention, but I think like the Lions are going to make a move. It's going to be like that type of player. I'm not saying it's Cooper, but like a guy, not a lot of people are like, oh, he's really, really good. But scouts are like, if we can steal this dude away from this shitty team, that could help us. But we'll see.
Because there's going to be some sellers at the trade, especially because the trade deadline has been moved, right? So now we have a little bit more time. You mentioned November 5th. So yeah, I agree with that. I mean, they have a huge game next week. It's Lions Vikings. You know, like you are going to see top 2 teams right now in the NFC North in terms of standings. Like they're going to go at it. And I think I agree with you. If they're able to knock off the Vikings, maybe they go, okay, here's how we live with this. It's obviously not going to be, the greatest. And then maybe we look for that depth piece, or maybe look for that guy who has like that upside that they don't have to give up a ton. Because again, I don't, and I could be wrong here, like in just reading the Lions, it doesn't seem like all the work that they did and all the years of roster building that they did the right way, building it in the trenches, like getting all these pieces to have the team that they have now, that they have a bright future in terms of just the players that they've signed, the culture that they've built, that they're going to go and mortgage their future for this season. And the only reason I say that is because, again, if they had Hutch, and let's just say Max Crosby was available for like a first and a second, even though I think it'd probably be more than that, they go, you know what? This is going to put us over the top to get us to the Super Bowl. When we're trying to replace one of our best players in Aidan Hutchinson, it just doesn't make sense to go, oh yeah, and we're not going to have a first round pick for at least next year. It does. I don't know. It just doesn't.
It's against their philosophical approach to team building.
Correct.
It goes against the grain.
Lions, yes, but I just don't see the Lions right now doing that.
The hilarious move, Tom, the meme move would be the Lions acquiring Trayvon Walker from the Jags. The Jags could be sellers. They take the guy who was drafted ahead of Aidan Hutchinson. And then if he came in and he looked like...
That'd be amazing.
If he looked better than Hutchinson, it would be the ultimate meme move. And somebody suggested this on Twitter. that the Lions reach out to the Cowboys and inquire about Micah Parsons.
I said that in the reaction video.
He's got to get paid at some point, right?
But that's
we don't
another
know
one.
what the Cowboys are doing.
You're getting
Jerry will never let him go. When Jerry loves a man, and I think he loves Micah. I think Jerry don't love Micah Parsons. That would be hilarious too. But yeah, there's just not like when you have a good edge rusher, you're usually not letting him go.
No. Which is why this Son Reddick thing is like so again, been bouncing around. He's been producing for the past few seasons.
Not curse you guys. What if the Bills sent Von Miller over?